Hey everyone, Dave Greco here again, and welcome to my new setup. I'm actually a new part of the office, so I'm still working on lighting and everything, but we'll be tweaking it as we go forward, so hopefully it starts to look a little bit better and better. So today's tutorial, which I think actually may be a few parts, I kind of want to tackle a actual concept drawing from sketching to stylization to the full rendering of it. And I'm gonna try to do it as fast as possible, so keeping a lot of it in real time and kind of explain my thought process as I go. And right now I have no idea what we're gonna paint. I have like a very, very vague idea, but I've done like no searching of, for reference or ideas or anything right now. Like let's just start kind of going in blind. What usually might happen is I might get some ideas from the art director or creative director on what type of character or subject they may want. And you could spend a little bit of time looking at stuff, getting some ideas going, but sometimes I just like to jam into it, see what I can think of. So we're gonna try to do something like that. It's gonna be a character piece. I was thinking we could do like a large male character. He could be some type of like Egyptian lord, warrior slash demon, who knows. We could just kind of go from there. We'll see what we can do. And we'll probably have to break it in a couple parts. Let's try to get like pretty close to a sketch that we're happy with on this one. And then for the next video, we can go into like blocking in, rendering, and all that stuff. Just so the videos aren't like crazy long. So I'll usually just use my main brush, which is a brush that is available down below, which is the DG main. I'm gonna try not to use any other brushes that I don't have available for you guys. Start a new layer. And basically, it's all about keeping your hand super loose, right? Like I explore completely on a piece as I go. Like I don't have an exact idea of what I want to do. Like I know like we might put the head up here a little bit. We're kind of figure out where the shoulders are. I kind of want to make him like pretty thick dude. He'd have like less of a neck, more kind of traps up top. And I'm really just brushing around. Like we can push all these shapes back at one point. So it doesn't matter how messy we are. We don't want to start with a clean line drawing. Sometimes these little weird shapes in the back will help determine a ton for us, right? So I'm figuring out where his like shoulders are, his chest. We could give him like some pretty large arms. We are just figuring it out as we go, And like, where do I want his eyes? So I want his head looking down, and this direction. Maybe give him a little personality. And one thing that's good too, that a lot of artists do, is create like lots of like silhouette studies, which is usually a good idea. Sometimes my time constraints, I feel like I have to dive into a piece, especially working on MMOs. We need so much content so fast, Instead of flipping the whole canvas, I'm just gonna flip this thing. So even at this stage, it doesn't matter too much if it looks like he's super stiff and who knows what's actually going on with his arms. Right? Like even if like it's this real blocky stuff, maybe he could have like pretty huge arms or pretty huge hands. He's kind of hulkish. We'll kind of ground it. Some people can paint on more mid-tone background of gray and stuff, and I think sometimes it's good to work on that so you can adjust your values properly. But I wouldn't leave it on a gray background when you're done. I think it makes the piece look very dull. And I find presentation is an important part of doing concept. You're always selling your idea, right? Like you're selling your idea to your art director or to anyone else. So we can kind of block in some of these shapes, maybe where his eyes and nose are. Who knows, maybe he's got like a tail too. So we still say super messy, which is cool. Oh, it's like, where did that go? Where did that go? Oh, we just flipped it. I forgot this canvas is pretty wide. This canvas is wider than I thought it was. So let's just copy him over, put him in the middle here. I like to have like a lot of breathing room around my in these canvases at first, so I don't feel like totally constrained, you know. And sometimes it's worth it to spend the time to give it like a more interesting pose. But for this, since we're just kind of jamming in totally blind, we can keep it pretty simple, I think. So it's after we get this type of stages when I like to figure out armor design and all this stuff. Generally, I like to paint my characters. It's almost like they're naked, right? And then I start to play dress up on them. So at least like you're overlapping clothing and armor on what should be pretty accurate anatomy. So we're still just going around trying to figure out like where some parts of them would be. Clean up some things a little bit so I can actually see it. Sometimes it can get too messy, right? All right. And like, I'm still trying to push stylization in my own work. I think stylization can be a tough thing. I know a lot of artists are always looking for their style and where to push it. But it's something that comes in time. Like I said, I'm still trying to push mine. I wish mine was further than it is. I think I'm finding certain ways to look at my work and find those little shapes. You can tell, I guess in some stuff, I really feel like I'm finding my way. When I'm painting hair lately, hair is always like one of my favorite parts of a painting. For some reason, I love like just the flowing shapes of rendering hair, and I can really get lost in it. All right. Sorry, I am painting behind my camera. I'm trying to be aware of that, so I do apologize if that happens from time to time. But there's a good chance too to thank everybody. There's always been more and more people coming over to the YouTube every single week here. And, it's still a pretty new channel. I think we really started getting the tutorials going around 4 or 5 months ago. Really started kicking it off, and you guys have been really fantastic. So we've had a bunch of people that have found the YouTube and come over to watch me on Twitch, which I paint at least 3 nights a week usually. We do play games on there sometimes, but it's mostly painting. So we're keeping this kind of black and white. You know what? Well, actually, and I just dropped my Wacom pen. I'm not going to cut that out. That happens sometimes. All right, we're back. We will get through this, I swear. All right. I kind of look like, he almost looks like a large rat man or something. Which could be something we do too. He's just like a jacked up rat man. But we'll do this in like a finished black and white, and then we'll go over color. So some of these tutorials might kind of overlap some of my previous ones, but I think it's just a different way to see it every time. I think it's gonna be better and better and help, hopefully. All right, so after this stage, let's say this is a stage where I like the silhouette and that shape and design is all going. I kind of like show my art director or whoever my lead is at the time. Oh yeah, keep going. Let's see where it goes. I think that could work. So I will actually put like a layer of white, and I'll just kind of drop the opacity, so I'll kind of just knock it back. Because then I'm gonna start doing like a clean line drawing over it. At least like one stage of the line drawing. This will be cleaner than the previous, but it's not gonna be like super clean. Like I want to figure out what all this stuff is. Like I said before, we are just kind of making up a lot of this. So let's just throw in some eye shapes. You know, I don't actually know if we want this, how humanoid we want this guy to be. You know, we can figure out his brows. Should figure out where his mouth is. His lower lip. This could be like a weird looking dude. Yeah, how much the top of his head is here. Like, this is stage 2, like, you're using that kind of bottom drawing to determine a lot of stuff, but you can still spend a lot of time figuring out like what all these shapes are gonna be. Like how we want to do his jaw, like who knows? Like usually going to a painting like this loose can be kind of scary sometimes, but at the same time, like you're just totally exploring too. So who knows? He's got some like big weird ears. Then it's like, do we give him a helmet? Do we give him hair? Do we? Not too sure. This dude is like one no neck kind of dude. You know, and I think there is like, you know, I still always need tons of help with my anatomy, but I think like there's a point where you can kind of find some like basic shapes that you might want to do with it. Kind of looks like some weird Vegeta right now or something. Which may not be like the kind of look. I think like his look, his face is too human. I think we could go more interesting. So like I never get married to anything, right? Like we can erase this stuff and so let's actually get pretty loose with it again. And we can figure out some of these shapes. I'm not sure how I want to treat the bottom of his mouth. But sometimes it's fine, like if we just stay loose enough here, we'll figure it out later. So like we're still pretty loose with this right here. We're just trying to refine our previous shapes just a tad bit more. And so there's some elements I can find that like I don't like, but this is usually a pretty kind of fun process. If he's got like super short legs, which could be okay. We could give him some type of like tabard drapery and all this stuff. We'll push some of his legs back here. This kind of thing. I do want to give him like these kind of like massive gauntlets. I think we should figure something out for this kind of top chest area. And maybe what we do too is like, oh, maybe it's almost like so crazy how no neck he has. We can just jam it up a little bit. There's always like lots of cleanups on these stages. Figure out what we want. You know, we could actually give him like a little bit of kind of longer hair that comes down the back. There we go. And I don't know about like a lot of other artists, but like some, I think, well, maybe some artists like really love this kind of like sketch stage. This stage usually has me like always mega paranoid. I like it when it's like you finally laugh. You know, I would think a lot of do that. Like I like finding that point where it's like, oh, this actually works, and you can actually spend that time cleaning up and rendering, and you're not so like panicked about the design and stuff. This is also a piece that probably warrants more like research, like what we want to do. Like, do we want to give them shoulder pads? That could totally change our direction of the entire thing too, right? Is these kind of shapes, is it more of like a sci-fi piece now? And then we could have like these circular things could be like tubes. That's definitely possible. We could actually go pretty like wide with his jaw. And that then like we could give like little markings on him. He could actually have different colored skin, so that actually could be pretty cool. So this could be like part of his suit, and then maybe this helmet thing comes off in the back. And I'll work with all this stuff too down here. Yeah, we actually go more kind of like sci-fi with it. It'd actually be pretty cool. You could have some things on his little tail. And then we can give like a little kind of, sometimes I like to do this lately too. It's just like a little base for him to stand on. There could be some rocks and who knows, space grass down here. All right, so I would actually consider this almost like a second stage line drawing. What I might do is put a little bit of value in, right? I might make this like a multiply layer. And this is gonna help me just like look at these shapes a little bit easier. It's such kind of a mess right now. It might just help me identify some areas and figure out how we might want to light it a little bit. Like, do we go pretty dark with his eyes? Do we have his eyes glowing? Do we make it so the highlights are more around this chest area? And like all the other stuff, I'm trying to stay as loose as possible. You know, we could make his hair silver, who knows what. But he's pretty cool. I actually kind of like where he's going. Then same deal, like this is just my process. Like I said, when you guys watch this isn't the process to do. This is how I work generally. It helps for the speed that I work and I guess the results that I want right now. So it's definitely worth trying, but there's so many artists out there to check out and watch and see how they do it. And it's really amazing. So I would take just a part of how every artist works and see how that works with your own work, you know what I mean? So we'll go back and start actually pulling out some of these shapes, and we can actually spend a little time to get a little more detailed here. I'm painting on the white layer, which you usually don't want to do. Like this dude could look angry, he could not. And so this is the same kind of area here where I might like identify like, all right, let's see how these eyes actually are shaped. How do we want his brows connected? That type of stuff. How does all these face shapes work? If we want his hair, so I think I'd rather have his hair here and not like a helmet or something. So we could figure out kind of his hair shapes. You know, all this stuff could change too still. I still, yeah, we can give some like crazy chop sideburns that come down. Like he'd actually be a little hairier. It doesn't have to be like flesh skin, you know, which might be kind of nice. He should still have some type of eyebrows though. And we'll darken out some of this stuff. But now that we've done this sketch, I realize, you know, I want this more kind of like this suit he's wearing. He could have all these different chambers for tubes and all this stuff that come up. So I'm just like constantly defining and figuring out how this piece is going to work, right? Like there's definitely some like weird skewing in the face. Maybe we'll take his face and just go to distort here. I can, you know, tug and pull it a little bit. I don't want him to look like he's constipated or something, which he's in danger of right now. He's like, "Grr." It's not quite a grimace. He looks more confused than anything, but we can tweak that later. Like obviously the face and all that stuff is super important to the piece, but I don't want to get like really hung up on it right now. And maybe this is actually like a whole back thing behind him and where all these tubes come up. You know, one could come down. That's why I kind of like that he looks not exactly human. He's a little more, he could look like a little more feral, right? He'll have his little space insignia division on his shoulder pads. But I think this stuff right here, should be his skin or his fur. Like I'd actually rather make it fur because I've actually had people talk about like how, you know, about rendering fur to make it like a stylized looking fur. And so I think doing that will actually be pretty cool for this piece. So I don't want this sketch stage to take like too much longer just for the sake of the video. Although maybe you guys don't even mind like longer videos. That could be totally fine too. And there's certain things like I don't like the shape of this pad right here. It's too it's too plain. But you can just like keep breaking up that shape and we'll get some, like I'm always obsessed with that like small shape design. So like I want this shape right here to look and feel good. I want these shapes up here to feel good. I want to curve down more into this other stuff. Like I'm finding different ways to cut in and add these other little things. We could actually drop some of that lid down a tiny bit. You know, try to find interesting breaks, things to make it a little more interesting. So he's not like quite like a gorilla or anything. And like I said, I haven't figured out the details. Like when we go more into, I think, the black and white, we can really dive in and figure out like and do a lot of all the little details of the armor. Maybe that we'll do for the next video. These videos will probably just be like a week apart. So I want to at least spend 3 to 4 hours total on this piece, right? So we should break it up in a bunch. I can't have like 2-hour videos or something. Maybe some people do. I don't know. It seems crazy. I'm still getting my bearings here for all this stuff, so. But let's at least get a little bit more down here. Like, these can be kind of like generic hands right now. They're kind of, you can kind of just ball them up into a fist, or who knows. He'd have things on his side, backpacks and little pouches. This could be like a tattered cloth down here. Sometimes cloth and like spacesuit design is actually pretty cool. Same with the feet down here. I don't know exactly how I'm going to do these boots and all that stuff, but let's throw this here. So I'm going to put these under the concept, the tutorial category under YouTube. And this is cool. This is actually something I've been wanting to do. Go from exact finish to the end on an actual concept piece. And like, I'm totally just playing with shapes right now and just seeing what's going to come out with it. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Like, by the end of this piece, we may totally have a brand new face. We may have, he maybe change his hand position where he's holding a huge cannon or something, you know. I'm not entirely sure what we want to do, but we're not locked down to anything right now, so, which is kind of nice. That is definitely a nice thing. And sometimes I'll take this white and we can clean up a bunch of this right here, maybe. Like his hairline up at the top, maybe too high up. But we can play a lot of stuff. I definitely, next time, I want to play with his mouth shape. We can spend some time on his face. I really want to get a cool look for him. Like, does he have kind of more of fangs? How much of the, so things to think of, like, how much of the upper teeth do we want to show? It's like, what is actually, you know? Oh, and that's actually pretty nice as we do this in stages of week by week. You guys can put comments below like, oh, what do you think about adding this idea to it? Maybe this is something that we can grow as a channel. And so I can read your guys' comments as we do it, like, oh, you know, what about this idea? It seemed pretty cool. And I think that'd actually be fun. That'd be like a little more interactive. And so when we have a piece at the end, it's kind of like all our piece. So I think this is a good way to kick it off. So this guy right now is going to need some tweaks to his face. What can we do with his armor? Maybe what is some ideas for his setting? What's this guy's backstory? Where does he come from? What kind of race is he? What's the world? And then once we get into black and white, we can do some color studies, all that stuff, guys. But I think, and I just hit the mic. So here's our little guy. Here's what we're going to start with. I'm going to blast all these layers down. My layers for these doesn't matter. We're just working as a sketch. So I think that'll be pretty good for us to start, and so we can start kicking off ideas. I think this is a good base. Like always, guys, thank you so much for checking out the channel. You can always find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/DaveGrecoArt. I'm on there 3-4 nights a week, painting with tons of people. It's awesome. I love hanging out with everybody. You guys inspire me on a daily basis. And thanks so much for checking out the channel. Please post below where we want to see this character go. And this is exactly how I would do my concept process in the studio, in the game industry that I do work in, and something that I would present to the art director later. So everyone, thank you so much for checking this video out, and I should have a next one next week with some of the updates from you guys. Thanks so much.